Good news, I suppose, was that the hurricane missed us. You know, it went, originally there was some concern that it might be heading toward New Orleans. The bad news is that this hurricane, this is going to be the new normal. I mean, this thing went from not even being a hurricane to being a Cat 4 hurricane when it made landfall. In just, what, 2 days, as I recall? I mean, you know, very, very quickly. And why? Because the Gulf of Mexico is much warmer than it has ever been in the history of humanity, or at least in the history, in recorded human history. And now at least 115 people are dead across 6 states. Officials fear the death toll can rise. There's many more people missing. Hundreds of roads remain closed, especially in the Carolinas. The Carolinas got hit really hard. Everybody was worried about the wind, right? Oh, is it still a Category 4 or 3 or 2 or 1, you know, when it hits? But, you know, what people were not counting for or expecting, and what the media, frankly, is not talking about, is that because our atmosphere is warmer, it's 1.5 degrees warmer than it was just 30 years ago, or certainly at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Because of that, it holds more moisture. Warm air holds more moisture than cold air does. It's, you know, it's why in the winter, you know, the humidity collapses. You know, it's because the cold air can't hold moisture, and once it gets below freezing, it pretty much really has a hard time holding moisture. And but the warmer it gets, the more moisture it can hold. So there was just a mind-boggling amount of water that this storm had picked up out of the Atlantic and then dumped on the Carolinas and every place in between. I mean, Georgia's in big trouble. You know, it's just right up the coast. So there's a medium, and by the way, there's they're describing it as a medium chance that a new storm will develop in the Western Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico later this week. And, you know, it's too early to know what's going to happen with that. President Biden says he's going to visit some of the affected communities as soon as they're kind of back on their feet. He doesn't want his visit to slow down or impede any rescue operations, which is just, you know, reasonable. But he's sending, you know, all kinds of socialist aid to these red states. You know, it's now you've got Brian Kemp going, please, President Biden, send us some of that socialism. Meanwhile, of course, Project 2025 wants to do away with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, you know, the people who predict these storms and tell us what to look out for. And they want to cut back FEMA radically. So, you know, all in the service of lowering taxes on billionaires. It's crazy. Asheville, North Carolina has been particularly hard hit. We had some friends who moved from Los Angeles to Asheville some years ago, you know, looking for a little more affordable place to live and, you know, a nice quality of life. And Asheville certainly has that. And they just loved it. They moved back to LA last year, you know, so, you know, they're okay. But wow, I mean, the floodwaters just wiped out this town. I mean, it didn't wipe out the town, but it has isolated the town. There's no cell service. I'm guessing some of this is coming back today. But damaged roads, lack of power, lack of cell service. This is across western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. And in North Carolina alone, more than 400 roads remained closed over the weekend. Most of your gas stations were closed. They didn't have electricity to pump gas. The few that were open had lines that were wrapped around the block. Again, Asheville, home to 94,000 people. About 700,000 people across North Carolina without power right now.